Happy International Women's Day, everybody. Give a round of applause to all of the women out there that are creating awesome videos online and are filmmakers. Woo! You guys are awesome. Great. Thank you for celebrating the day with me here on my channel today by learning something new. If you're new here on the Premiere Gal YouTube channel, I create video editing and production tutorials, interviews with professionals, just resources to help you create better video. And so this is lesson 4. It's a series I've created on this channel to help you create motion graphics templates in the new Essential Graphics panel in After Effects, okay? So I have all the other lessons in a playlist in the description box below, so you should watch each one so you're up to date on what I'll be showing you in this lesson, which is how to add a lower third, an additional graphic, so multiple graphics within the Essential Graphics panel because we currently have one in there, okay? And then, of course, how to export that and use it in Premiere Pro. And so in the last lesson, I said this was going to be the end of the series, but actually it's not. I'm going to continue it. And the next one I thought of was how to actually edit and put more complex templates in the Essential Graphics panel. So for example, a store that I use to actually help expedite my video production workflow is Envato Market. I use tons of After Effects templates there for clients to help make faster videos, right? And so there's lower thirds, there's transitions, there's so many awesome templates, and I'd love to see what type of template you would like me to show you how to actually create a motion graphic from, so you can use that template over and over again in Premiere Pro and you don't have to keep going back into After Effects. Make sense? If it doesn't, let me know in a comment below, but I'd love to hear what type of template you would want me to convert into a MOGRT, okay? So that's it for the intro. Let's go ahead and jump into After Effects. All right, you guys, we're here inside of Adobe After Effects CC, and we've been working from this master composition here. And you can see I have this zooming main title text here. This animated title composition is what we're looking at right now. And we have the Essential Graphics panel open, and the previous lessons we added all of these cool controls, which we can then export and update in Premiere Pro, which is pretty cool. So I'll show you how to do that later on. But first, I'm going to show you how to add a new graphic into the Essential Graphics panel, because let's say you have multiple animations you're working with and you want to be able to send it all as one template together. That's what I'm going to show you how to do right now, because we already have all these cool scale controls and position controls, which is awesome, but what we want to do is to apply the same thing to another graphic, okay? So let's go ahead and create a new composition. Let's call it lower third left. Great. Okay. Now let's just go ahead and create a new rectangle. Let's go up here. You can also hit Q on your keyboard as a shortcut for that. And you can go through different ones by tapping Q. You can go to star, rectangle, rounded, ellipse, etc. So let's choose regular rectangle. And right here you can see what the fill color is and what the stroke color is, okay? You can remove the stroke by making it 0, or you can go to stroke and hit none. But let's keep it on for now, and I'll show you why in just a second. So let's go ahead and create a new rectangle here, just in the lower third region on the left. And you can hit V to go to the arrow tool as a shortcut, and let's reposition it. Now let's create some text here. Let's just type in lower third left. And let's go back to the selection tool and recenter it in the center of this rectangle, okay? And just to note, the font that I'm using is a Typekit font, and it's recommended to use Typekit because let's say you're going to send this to a client or somebody to use, it's easier for them to sync the font with Typekit. And in Premiere Pro, there's no way yet to change the font, so the user that is using this is stuck with the font. But the reason why this is beneficial, you may say, oh, they can't change the font, that's bad. Well, it's good if you're designing it for a specific brand, because then the font stays the same. So there is a benefit to it. So I chose Futura PT because that's one of my Typekit fonts, okay? Okay, so now what we have to do is replicate this same expression from lesson 1, where the rectangle will auto resize to the shape of text. But to do that, first we need to apply an expression control. So you need to go up to Effects, and let's search for Slider Control, okay? I'm going to drag and drop that on Shape Layer 1, And if you hit E on your keyboard, it'll show all effects on that layer. So now what we want to do is rename this to padding. Rename to padding. And we're renaming it to padding because it controls the padding around the entire text, okay? So let's go ahead and copy the expression from the first composition onto the shape layer. So let's go back to Animation Title 1, open up Title 1 composition, which has the rectangle and the shape layer 1. And if you toggle open shape layer 1 underneath rectangle, rectangle path 1 is where our original expression is from the first title that you see here on the screen. So let's go ahead and Command C that, or Control C on a PC, and let's paste that on the shape layer 1 in our new lower third composition. Let's go to Contents, Rectangle 1, Rectangle Path, and here let's Alt-Option click, and here we can paste that same expression. So let's paste it, and you can see that there's an error because this rectangle text here is referring to the Title 1 text, and we don't want it to have to do with the original title here. We want it to control the lower third left text and want it to auto resize to that. So what you can do is you can actually, if you hit return on your keyboard or enter, you can rename this to anything simple so you don't have to type out that much. So we can just call it LT or anything that you want, and it doesn't affect what's on screen here. So we're going to go back to the expression here, and we're just going to type in LT. And look what happened. It auto-resized to the text exactly, which is great, you know what I mean? But it's too close, and you learned this in the first lesson. So to change that, you have to go down to padding under effects here, and here you can adjust the slider until it's exactly the size that you want, okay? And now what we want to do, because this design, essentially it's kind of boring, right? Well, it's really hot now in contemporary design to add an outline around shapes. So let's go ahead and add an outline, and it's really easy to do. Just duplicate the shape layer here, let's duplicate it, and it'll carry over the expressions as well. And what we're going to do, let's just go ahead and rename this by hitting enter again. Let's call it outline, and let's call this rectangle, okay? And under outline here, what we want to do is we want to change it to not have a fill. So let's go up here to fill, and let's change it to none, okay? And let's maybe make a stroke of, let's say, 8. And let's go here to effects on outline because it has the same padding control as the original. And let's increase the padding so it's bigger, okay? So now this design, if we click out, looks pretty good, right? And if we type in new text here, both the shapes auto resize. New, say new lower third, right? And you can place this anywhere on the screen. It doesn't have to be in the lower third. You can change that, which I will show you in a bit. So now we have this new awesome lower third. Now we want to put it in the Essential Graphics panel as part of this template that we're creating, okay? So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the master comp, and we're going to go to the project, and we have to drag in our lower third left composition into the master comp, because this Essential Graphics panel is referencing the master comp. So anything you put in here has to be inside of the master. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So the lower third here, what we want to do is we want to be able to say, hey, we don't want to have both of these on at the same time, because let's say an editor only wants to work with the lower third, they have to be able to turn off this first main title, okay? So first let's go ahead and let's add a comment here, and let's delete this comment to create a spacer. And now let's add a new title for this. Let's call it lower third, and let's just type it out. So this is just a title, it's not controlling anything. And now we want to be able to turn off both these assets. And what you're going to do is search for checkbox, okay? And let's double click to apply it to the expression controls layer, which we created in previous lessons. double click, and let's double click to make another one because we're going to have two, one for the main title and one for the lower third. Okay, so what we're going to do is rename this checkbox under expression layers here. So let's rename this one to be main title checkbox, and let's rename this one by hitting enter to lower third checkbox. Okay, and what we're going to do is select both of these titles here and hit T to reveal the opacity of both these comps here. And let's toggle down on both these checkboxes, and what we're going to do is activate expressions on both by hitting Alt Option on both, Alt Option click on the stopwatch. And for animation title 1, which is our main title, let's drag this pick whip to this checkbox layer. And just like I showed you in the previous lesson, we're going to multiply this by 100. So that way when opacity is 0, it is turned off. Same with this one. We are going to pick whip it to lower third checkbox. Bam, times it by 100. And now if we turn these on or off, they disappear from the main composition or turn back on, which is pretty cool. And now we can drag these into the essential graphics panel. So let's drag the main title checkbox up here, and let's call it turn on off. And let's do the same with the lower third, turn on / off. So now from the essential graphics, we can turn it on or off. Okay, and basically I'll just finish this up here and do exactly what we did up here to be able to control like the scale, the XY position, the same thing on the new lower third. Okay, so to do that, on this composition, the new lower third left, I'm going to add a separate XYZ position to control the position. So we'll drag and drop that, hit E to show the effects, and let's drag and drop that into the lower third here. And we want to update the range again to match the dimensions of our composition. So we want it to be minus 1920, 1920, because that is the width of the composition. And let's edit the X value to be minus 1080 to 1080, because that is the height. Whoops, 1080, okay. And now when we move this, it controls where it is on the screen. And people in Premiere Pro that use this will be able to do that, okay? So let's undo that so it's where it was before. And now let's do the scale. Now we can use a slider control for this, like I showed you before. We can do slider, and let's actually just drag and drop it on the lower third here. And what we want to do is open up the transform tools here with the effects, and we want to hit the stopwatch on the scale and pick whip it to the slider. We can bring the slider up here and we can call it scale, and it'll control the scale. Okay? And the reason why it is not scaling from the center is because we actually place it in the lower third area. And that's fine, as long as you can like reposition it like so, it doesn't really make a difference. So let's make it at 100, the scale, and let's change it to be around 200 so you can control how big this will be. And you see how it goes off frame? Well, no worries, you can just use the slider controls to move it, right? We don't want it to be that big, but we can reposition it however we want, and this is what people will be able to do in Premiere Pro. Okay, so scale, position is done. Let's add the text, first of all, so people can edit the text here. So now if we go to lower third and we go down to the source text here, bring this up, let's call it edit text. And now if you type in something new, because we put that expression in, it'll be, let's say, Premiere Gal. And by the way, I'm just typing in all caps. It can be like this, no problem. And you can, of course, make sure that the font choice here, if you go back to character, right now I have all caps on, but you can choose to have that on or off. And you may want to keep it off because some people may not want it to be forced all the time. So that way the lowercase and the uppercase can happen, okay? So you basically have the power as the designer to say, hey, I just want the editor to be able to edit the text, the scale, or the position. I don't want them to control the color. So you can export it like so, but if you wanted to add color controls to this, there's no problem in doing that either. It's very simple to do. If we want to just go and add a rectangle color, just toggle down from rectangle color, go to fill, and just drop this color in here. It can be at the bottom wherever, and you can call this rectangle color. Okay? And same with the outline. You would just go to the outline, toggle down under contents, and you would go to stroke, because it's the stroke color, remember, and drag the stroke color here. And let's change this to stroke color. And once again, we want the text too, but we actually have to add a fill to the text under effects. So go to fill, drag and drop generate fill onto this, and now it turns red. No worries, just change this to white. And now under effects, let's drag the color into the lower third, and we'll call this text color. So now people will be able to control if they want it on or off, edit the text, the scale, the X and Y position, the rectangle color, the stroke color, and the text color, which is pretty good, okay? So what we can do now is export this to Premiere Pro. Let's go up to name, and let's just call this Premiere Gal title demo, something like that. And then down here, you're going to export motion graphics template. It'll ask you to save it first. Yes, you want to save it first. Perfect. And you can save it to a local drive if you want to, but I'm just going to save it to my Essential Graphics panel, and it will automatically be there in Premiere Pro. I don't have to import anything into the Essential Graphics panel in Premiere, which is where you import MOGRT files, but you can do it automatically here. So I'm just going to hit OK. Awesome. And now if we go in Premiere Pro and we go to the Essential Graphics panel, look what's here. And if I change it to a thumbnail view, you can see that this title demo is here. And you can see that it only shows what was in the screen when you exported it, right? So just quickly, before I go into editing, look right here. You can set a poster frame here. So if you wanted to turn the main title on, what we need to do is go back to master here, because before we were in lower third, right? We have to go to master because this is reflective of what you see here. So you can set a poster frame here, and this will be what people see in Premiere Pro in the thumbnail, which is a nifty little tip. So set poster frame, export motion graphics template, hit save again, and let's save it to the Essential Graphics panel, and let's replace it because we want to replace the previous one because we didn't like the thumbnail. And now let's go back to Premiere Pro, and here it is. And now just drag and drop it into Premiere Pro, and you can see here that you have this, okay? I didn't add any animation to the lower third. It's just like a still image, but what I will show you is that if you type in text here, under the Essential Graphics panel under Edit, is where you can make all the adjustments. So here I can say lower third new, and it updates, right? You can change the scale here and reposition it. And there's not a black background, by the way, right? Like this is an alpha channel. If you go to Tools, you can go to Transparency Grid, and it's transparent. So if you put this on top of a video, it'll be on top of the video, right? If you wanted to add any animation to this, you could, if you're interested. So let's say lower third left, you want it to animate in. There's tons of animation presets under Effects and Presets. So if you go to, let's say, Movement, let's do Stretch and Blur and drop it. By the way, you want the playhead to be at the start position of the animation. So at the very beginning, stretch and blur, and then over time, it'll just stretch and blur. It's a little bit slow because it's rendering right now, but that looks pretty cool, right? So we can turn off this one real quick so you can see that. And you can adjust this. If you hit E, you can go to stretch master control here, and you can control the speed of this. If you want it to be quicker, you can just move this keyframe like so. And if you want it to animate out after a certain amount of time, you can scrub to like, let's say 3 seconds, and you can hit this. And of course, you can go back to 0 here, and now it animates out. And you can right click on the keyframe to make it more eased out of a transition, so easy ease out. And now it's more smooth of a transition. So now let's go ahead and turn this back on, create a new poster frame here, and let's export it. And let's save it to the Essential Graphics, right? Replace. Let's go back to Premiere Pro, and it won't automatically update when you've dragged it to the timeline, so you actually have to re-add it. So go back to Browse, drag and drop it here, take a second, and now it will have that new animation in there, which is pretty cool. All right, you guys, I hope that you found this lesson useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you keep up to date with all the tutorials and lessons I post each week on this channel. And don't forget to leave a comment below letting me know what type of template from the Envato market you would like to see me convert into a MOGRT, a motion graphics template, okay? That's all for this week, you guys. I will see you all very soon, and I look forward to it. Bye. Gosh, basil is so awesome, and I'm so excited that I got this for International Women's Day. I'm going to plant it in my garden after this video, but before I go, you guys should check out the RemoView K1 4K gimbal stabilizer. I filmed part of Tim's interview at Social Media Marketing World with it, so you should check out his interview. I'll link to it somewhere on the screen. Thanks, bye.